is dedicated to northern Uganda, specifically GULU, which is the hub really of northern Uganda. Today I want us to talk about NGOs.
Non-governmental organizations or nothing going on.
Ideally, in this case, non-governmental organizations. During the war, there were so many that came up, and at the end of the war, we saw even more registering. By 2003, you had about 4,000 NGOs, and they say currently there's about 8,000 NGOs. Where have they come? Do you think they're here doing a good job? Do you work for an NGO and you think you're doing a good job? That's what we're going to find out today. And I want to start. This man who is wearing a suit, he looks like he works in an NGO. You man, what do you think of the influx of NGOs here?
Yeah, I don't work for an NGO. I work for a small profit-making organization. But the NGOs have done a lot. They've managed to resettle people to their homes. So as the resettlement is done, most of those NGOs are closing down. So they have done a great job. They have managed to resettle people by giving them certain items that they need for household items. Okay. Then they also they've given people actually we call it Intandikwa in the other language. Western.
What is Intandikwa in?
Intandikwa in actually is what do you call it?
What?
Chene magi chako ke biashara. Chene magi chako ke biashara.
In law it's called bolecho. So that money they put in a pool, and if it's in a pool, with sometimes the ladies or those people who are in that particular group, that bolecho, which he says why in Tandekwa, I don't know where I speak actually because I'm one.
Yeah, it's 8,000 NGOs. Do you think that's what is needed actually to solve the problems of GULU or northern Uganda?
You know, let me answer that because particularly I work for an NGO.
Hey.
And you know, there are NGOs that do particular job. Because at the moment now, I think people are looking away of rehabilitation because we have very many people who are traumatized on the world. So there are very like the NGO that I work for. For us, what we do, we access to justice program, where we do free legal representation in court. Right. And you see, it's a kind of NGO. I think it's at the moment it's an NGO that is really doing a lot of services to the people because people need because most of them this war really made people to leave their own land and they came in town. Some people are in camps. So when they are returning back, the resettlement program, when it came into a board, and when they are getting back to their home, there's a lot of issues, land wrangles. So you find most of these people, they do not know their land rights, they do not know their rights. So there are very many human rights abuses, and there are very many rights that are being abused. So some of the NGOs, like the one that are working, we are trying our best to see a way that we can make people live more dignified life. Right. And while they know their rights and their land rights basically, because the Kalpia lands, of course, it's own customary. Right.
We want to talk about the land thing, you know, land grabbing in northern Uganda. But he works for an NGO and he believes that his organization is doing a great job. In your own opinion, do you think they have actually done what they are supposed to do?
I think they have, though I don't know so much about the statistics, so I don't know if they are increasing. For me, I see like they are decreasing because after the war, it's like they kind of kept on closing. They closed at least most of the. But I think they have done a great job. They have set a base for people to be able to stand on their own, or at least they are continuing to set that base so that people are able to stand on their own and they move forward. Right, right.
But you know what? We are here in GULU, so let's speak actually.
Yes.
So let us start cut this guy. I know this guy working in the NGO, but I'm not saying on these talks. We're just talking as a general issue. The thing is,
in actually,
the NGOs are all Alibabora, GULU. But in Guinea, Petame when they're doing the right thing here. they build just as if they're doing business for their personal issues. Yeah? They go outside, lobby for funds, say they're going to help people to put boreholes in the actual area in Uganda. Suppose now in Uganda, they're talking maybe I can't tell Pabo, I can't chope, Nyama. But on the ground here, no Changi Pay, Nyama. And for here in town, they're registered at the NGO, they're driving very good vans, even have bus, all those things that they have fast salaries. So, however much NGOs, I think some NGOs have done much here in GULU. In other way around, I see they have done even useless issues also here.
Right.
They find much of the money maybe they got from the donors goes back to the donor account. For us here, we are living this dusty streets here. Now, if you work for the government and you are working to do some other things for the government, you partake other issues for the government, you do it to help the government issues. Because those are government programs, you also do it to help the government. If the government is going to run the road, why can't they change their program? Say, okay, our projects now this year is to build all these roads in the municipal or in these other village areas. The government now do other things, but they are not doing it right now.
Here they rent, people are just now charging people, they have hiked up the price of things. Really, that's the challenge we are facing here. In a situation like if you happen to ask for someone's resident, the whole building, you'll find that the price would be high. There was a man who told us that his building, he cannot give just different rooms. He wants the whole thing to be paid once for 3 months. That's the duration he has given to us. And in a month, you are supposed to pay 1.8
per month.
Per month. So you still have to pay 3 months in advance before you enter.
Right.
So really, the price of things have been hiked up. We don't know what it is the NGOs or it is the government body trying to do that. We are not aware of that.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you're just joining us, send your text right now to 6565 and tell us what you think about the impact of NGOs in GULU, but also go to our Facebook page, Minibas Uganda, and just comment. Arthur, who is a political analyst, writer, and critic, but also works for Choice FM, has a lot to say about the presence of NGOs in GULU. Check this out. Now, we see that GULU has so many NGOs, and those really came especially just after the war. What do you think has been the impact of this?
What we're now seeing is the return of relative calm in this town or district, and that means the number of NGOs has scaled down. But initially at the peak of the conflict, we had a good number of non-government organizations. And of course, their activities were also aligned to the phases of the conflict which we are witnessing. At the peak of the conflict, we had many of them who were giving handouts to the people. And that actually meant that they were intervening in internally displaced people's camps right here in GULU. We had so many of them. But right now, we've had a return of peace, and a good number of people have returned to their homes since then. So what the NGOs have done, they have helped the people to return home. What they are now looking at is to try and intervene in the areas of basic services, providing water and some other livelihood activities. But every intervention we're now seeing should be aligned with the Peace, Recovery and Development Plan for Northern Uganda. So all interventions of non-government organizations have to be under the 4 strategic objectives we have in the PRDP. This is what has been happening here. You can actually see evidence of what the non-government organizations have done. At the height of the conflict, government was almost absent, and non-government organizations took over. So there are so many boreholes which have been sunk, there are so many health centers which are in place, health center 2s and 3s, courtesy of non-government organizations in the different sub-counties here. We also have schools that have been put in place. We are into a phase of trade. Okay, that means NGOs have now phased out. People now have to take care of themselves. We've had an influx of banks coming in. So GULU is now in an economic boom. People now have to trade. Sudan has provided a very good opening. People who come down and do not take care of the socio-economic conditions in place, okay, and they're doing what they don't know. So the district leadership has come in some instances to take care of that.
So Arthur says that while many of the NGOs have done nothing, you people have benefited a lot. but also it has spoiled you guys because you're now used to spoon feeding. You can't start. Do you think that's actually true?
Don't really look up, because down on the team, yearly, the target. NGOs made of you kind of dark and pay on the 20 and the team actually school and up to now, even others are being paid up to the university level. Yes, there are others who are doing great and have done really great, but does not mean we are being spoon fed. But there are others who are really struggling because the beneficiaries are not to everyone. Some get, some get, some don't get. Wow. Since the population is also so much. Yeah.
Observation around here, most people, especially men, they're not so hardworking. Like they tend to be lazy because they know they'll get everything from the street. They don't care so much about their families because they know that women are working, the NGOs are catering for their school fees and everything. So I think, and I know it has really, as in, put them on a very bad side.
Right.
They are lazy. I would say they are lazy.
Yes, you had something to say.
Yeah, that's why I said to some people, not one way, but Jomukene are lazy. But there are others, they are hardworking. It you might take to get what to use.
Yes.
But at least they have done a great job. School, you go to like GULU town. Some classes are being built by the NGOs. There's many schools around. Magyu adding body, since the classes were not enough.
Right.
Yeah.
You work for an NGO. What are some of the tangible things you have done?
Your NGOs. Now, as we talk, at least we should know. We must know that there are some in anything that like say, let me in this particular talk about NGO. There are some who really are doing great work, but of course there are some who maybe are not doing great work. But of course, as we know, like in a district or in a municipality, there are boards like NGO Forum, for instance, and GULU. There are those that are really, they register NGOs. So when they know this NGO is doing a particular work in this municipality or in this district, always they sign an MOU with those districts. So I think all these NGOs, they have their particular works that they do. But you might find that there may be some 2 or 3 NGOs almost doing the same work. But since now the population also is high, find that there's that division of that services.
Right.
But there are very many NGOs like Invisible Children, for sure. Everybody knows in GULU here, Invisible Children has done a great job.
But Invisible Children was almost closed down because they spent almost 3/4 of the money buying new cars. How can you tell me they've done work?
I'm still coming to the point. That's why I say there are those who are doing work. There are those that they have also paid up to the university. But of course now that is at the management level. That for us down here, we cannot be able to see it. But of course there are clear evidence. They have built schools, they have renovated schools,
right.
They have paid some students to the university, which is itself for the community. Basically they are working in Northern. Yes. So meaning those cars are buying, those are management levels that we cannot talk about. That is their
we have to talk about it.
Yes. NGOs GULU and get wrong right. You know the NGOs we are down the watch NGOs new power German comes. You know your major food on don't get your food what program you power German. No not your thing you more.
You used to earn like 30,000.
No, quite professional don't. Quite professional and telephone. Get one phone, read my bed on deck and telephone don't. Never any doctor NGO. Even the NGOs have gone, you still remain a doctor in NGO.
But there is also one thing that we must all know. As NGO operates, NGO cannot give very much because also they are limited by their donors. That is one thing.
But the donors have money.
They have money, but also they are limited by a particular thing. They are limited.
And now, unfortunately, you're the only one who works for an NGO.
I don't agree with you. I don't agree.
I'm meaning NGO, but I'm not meaning donors. Donors are not limited.
But donors send money to NGO.
Yes, they send money to NGO basing on a particular activity written. Yet on the ground here, when they begin to do work, there are very many needs that arises in. So as you can
so just one point to add on. You can always check the dress codes. before these NGOs coming in, the scores were very okay in all offices.
Everything was
very okay. But when now these NGOs jump in, you find a girl going to teach these other villagers about how the pregnancy, about HIV, facing miniskirts. Then how can we now say that? Now she can say check all this. The whole boss of NGO dressing, maybe a lady dressing now in trousers, tight skin, jeans.